Fellas, what's going on? How's it going? How you doing? Today we've got a treat. We've got a real treat. We've got Max Stirner, the ego and his own, the case of the individual against authority. For those of you that don't know, this is a drawing of Max Stirner. Max Stirner. This was actually a one-to-one representation of how he actually looked. So yeah, it's good to get my hands on this book, and I think I'm just gonna start reading. Really, the first chapter is called "All Things Are Nothing to Me." What is not supposed to be my concern? First and foremost, the good cause, then God's cause, the cause of mankind, of truth, of freedom, of humanity, of justice. Further, the cause of my people, my prince, my fatherland. Finally, even the cause of mind and 1,000 other causes. Only my cause is never to be my concern. Shame on the egoist who thinks only of himself. Let us look and see then how they manage their concerns. They for whose cause we are to labor, devote ourselves and grow enthusiastic. You have much profound information to give about God, and have for thousands of years searched the depths of the Godhead and looked into its heart, so that you can doubtless tell us how God himself attends to God's cause, which we are called to serve. And you do not conceal the Lord's doings either. Now, what is his cause? Has he, as he has demanded of us, made an alien cause, the cause of truth or love, his own? You are shocked by this misunderstanding, and you instruct us that God's cause is indeed the cause of truth and love, but that this cause cannot be called alien to him, because God is himself truth and love. You are shocked by the assumption that God could be like us poor worms in furthering an alien cause as his own. Should God take up the cause of truth if he were not himself truth? He cares only for his cause, but because he is all in all, therefore his cause. But we are not all in all, and our cause is altogether little and contemptible. Therefore we must serve a higher cause. Now it is clear, God cares only for what is his, busies himself only with himself, thinks only of himself, and has only himself before his eyes. Woe to all that is not well pleasing to him. He serves no higher person and satisfies only himself. His cause is a purely egoistic cause. How is it with mankind, whose cause we are to make our own? Is its cause that of another? And does mankind serve a higher cause? No, mankind looks only at itself. Mankind will promote the interests of mankind only. Mankind is its own cause. That it may develop, it causes nations and individuals to wear themselves out in its service. And when they have accomplished what mankind needs, it throws them on the dung heap of history in gratitude. Is not mankind's cause a purely egoistic state? I have no need to take up things that want to throw its cause on us and show that it is occupied only with itself, not with us, only with its good, not with ours. Look at the rest for yourself. Do truth, freedom, humanity, justice desire anything else than that you grow enthusiastically and serve them? They all have an admirable time of it when they receive zealous homage. Just observe the nation that is defended by devoted patriots. The patriots fall in bloody battle or in the fight with the hunger and want. What does the nation care for that? By the manure of their corpses for the nation comes into its bloom. The individuals have died for the great cause of the nation, and the nation sends some words of thanks after them, and has the profit of it. I call that a paying kind of egoism. But only look at that sultan who cares so lovingly for his people. Is he not pure unselfishness itself? And does he not hourly sacrifice himself for his people? Oh yes, for his people. Just try it. Show yourself, not as his, but as your own. For breaking away from egoism, you will take a trip to jail. The sultan has set his cause on nothing but himself. He is to himself all in all. He is to himself the only one, and tolerates nobody who would dare not to be one of his people. And will you not learn by these brilliant examples that the egoist gets on best? I, for my part, take a lesson from them, and propose instead of further unselfishly serving those great egoists, rather to be the egoist myself. God and mankind have concerned themselves for nothing but themselves. Let me then likewise concern myself for myself, who am equally with God the nothing of all others. who am my all, who am the only one. If God, if mankind, as you affirm, have substance enough in themselves to be all in all to themselves, then I feel that I shall still less lack that, and that I shall have no complaint to make of my emptiness. I am not nothing in the sense of emptiness, but I am the creative nothing, the nothing out of which I myself, as a creator, create everything. Away then with every concern that is not altogether my concern. You think at least the good cause must be concerned? My concern? What's good? What's bad? Why, I myself am my concern, and I am neither good nor bad. Neither has meaning for me. The divine is God's concern, the human, man's. My concern is neither divine nor human, nor the true, nor the good, the just, the free, but solely what is mine. And it is not a general one, but is unique, as I am unique. Nothing is more me to me than myself. That was just the preface. Holy shit. I'm gonna look at this chat for a brief second. You know, I really feel like it doesn't need any mods, but I'm feeling a little egoistic today, you know? I'm feeling like maybe I'll just do something for my own pleasure. So if you want to be a mod, say I want to be a mod in the chat, and I'll make you a mod. And if you don't want to be a mod, say I don't want to be a mod. Okay. I am now going to make one of you a mod. All right. I've now made one of you a mod. Now, you may notice that I made someone a mod who was not saying I wanted to be a mod or didn't want to be a mod. I set up an arbitrary rule, set a class of things that need to happen in order for someone to be a mod. And then I basically just made someone random a mod. Almost as if the cruel winds of fate don't care about rules or justice. Things just happen, and your brain tries to make sense of it. But nothing's going to make sense of it because you just live in an absurd world with no objective truth. That's actually a quote from Max Stirner. I actually wrote this book. Jesus. Okay. Here's how I'm going to read this book. I feel like Max Stirner's face needs to be in frame. So, all right. Part 1, Chapter 1, A Human Life. Part 1 is called Man, by the way. It opens with this quote. Man is to man the supreme being, says Feuerbach. I don't know half these German people. Man has just been discovered, says Bruno Boyer. Then let us take a more careful look at this supreme being and this new discovery. All right. Chapter 1, A Human Life. From the moment when he catches sight of the light of the world, a man seeks to find out himself and get hold of himself out of its confusion, in which he, with everything else, is tossed about in motley mixture. But everything that comes in contact with the child defends itself in turn against his attacks and asserts its own persistence. Accordingly, because each thing cares for itself and at the same time comes into constant collision with other things, the combat of self-assertion is unavoidable. Victory or defeat. Between the two alternatives, the fate of the combat wavers. The victor becomes the lord, the vanquished one the subject. The former exercises supremacy and rights of supremacy. The latter fulfills in awe and deference the duties of a subject. But both remain enemies and always lie in wait. They watch for each other's weakness. Children for those of their parents, and parents for those of their children, their fear, for example. Either the stick conquers the man, or the man conquers the stick. In childhood, liberation takes the direction of trying to get to the bottom of things, to get at what is back of things. Therefore, we spy out the weak points for everybody, for which it is well known children have a sure instinct. Therefore, we like to smash things, like to rummage through hidden corners, pry after what is covered up or out of the way, and try what we can do with everything. When we once get at what is at the back of things, we know we are safe. When we have got at the fact that the rod is too weak against our obduracy, then we no longer fear it, have outgrown it. Back of the rod, mightier than it, stands our obduracy, OBD, Uracy. I've never seen that word in my life. Our obdurate courage. One second. We're gonna take a brief repose here, and we're gonna look up what obduracy is, because I have no idea. Unmoved by persuasion, pity, or tender feelings, stubborn, unyielding, resistant to moral influence. I feel like it's a word Stirner would invent just to write this book. Stirner, I feel like if he was like walking on the street and there was like a kid with like a candy, he would just like push the kid over and no. Let's not speculate here. Back of the rod, mightier than it stands. Yes. Okay. Through a considerable time, we are spared a fight that is so exhausting later, the fight against reason. The fairest part of childhood passes without the necessity of coming to blows with reason. We care nothing at all about it, do not meddle with it, admit no reason. We are not to be persuaded to anything by conviction, and are deaf to good arguments, and like are hard for us to resist. This stern life and death combat with reason enters later, and begins a new phase. In childhood, we scamper about without racking our brains much. Mind is the first name of the first self-discovery, the first undification of the divine, that is, of the uncanny, the spooks. First mention of spooks, the powers above. By the way, this book, The Ego and His Own, I have an individualist, I know individualist anarchists. They're very upset that this translation is his own. They think the original German is closer to the ego and its own. So maybe this marks this book as just bullshit. But we're gonna keep going. The attitude is now altogether reversed. The youth takes up an intellectual position, while the boy, who did not feel himself as mind, grew up on mindless learning. The former does not try to get hold of things, but of thoughts that lie hidden in things, and so, therefore, of the spirit of history. On the other hand, the boy understands connection, no doubt, but not ideas. The spirit, therefore, he strings together whatever can be learned without proceeding, a priori, and theoretically, without looking for ideas. I'm going to be honest, this first chapter, it's losing me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you the table of contents, and you can just tell me where you want to go, all right? So here, and yeah, that's the whole table of contents. I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to look at the chat, and eventually one of you guys is going to pick out a part of this book, and we're just going to skip there, and we're going to flip around, and we're going to find something to read, okay? Oh, wait. There's a bit of a delay, you see. Last chapter, page 32. That's such a specific request. I want to do it just because I feel like if someone's telling you to go to page 32, it's like they probably know something. Oh, shit. Page 32 in the chapter, Men of the Old Time and the New, the spook. With ghosts, we arrive in the spirit realm, in the realm of essence. What haunts the universe and has its occult, incomprehensible being there is precisely the mysterious spook that we call highest essence. And to get to the bottom of this spook, to comprehend it, to discover reality in it, to prove the existence of God, this task men set to themselves for thousands of years, with the horrible impossibility, the endless Danade labor of transforming the spook into a non-spook, the unreal into something real, the spirit into an entire incorporeal person. With this, they tormented themselves to death. Behind the existing world, they sought the thing in itself. The essence behind the thing, they sought the unthing. When one looks to the bottom of anything, searches out its essence, one often discovers something quite other than what it seems to be. Honeyed speech and a lying heart, pompous words and beggarly thoughts, and so on. By bringing the essence into prominence, one degrades the hitherto misapprehended appearance to a bare semblance, a deception. The essence of the world, so attractive and splendid, is for him who looks to the bottom of it, emptiness. The emptiness is equal to the world's essence. Now, he who is religious does not occupy himself with a deceitful semblance, with the empty appearances, but looks on in this essence, and in the essence has the truth. The essences which are deduced from some appearances are the evil essences. and conversely from others the good. The essence of human feeling, for instance, is love. The essence of human will is good, that of one's thinking, the true, and so on. What at first passed for existence, such as the world and its like, appears now as bare semblance. And the truly existent is much rather the essence whose realm is filled with gods, spirits, demons with good or bad essences. Only this inverted world, this world of essences, truly exists now. The human heart may be loveless, but its essence exists. God, who is love, human thought may wander in error, but its essence, truth, exists. God is truth, and the like. To know and acknowledge essences alone and nothing but essences, that is religion. Its realm is a realm of essences, spooks, and ghosts. The longing to make the spook comprehensible or to realize nonsense has brought about a corporeal ghost, a ghost or spirit with a real body, an embodied ghost. How the strongest and most talented Christians have tortured themselves to get a conception of this ghostly apparition, but there always remain the contradiction of two natures, the divine and the human. Listen, I thought I understood spooks before I read that section, and now I have a sneaking suspicion I've been spreading misinformation. Oh no! Through Christ, maybe I can like, yeah, maybe it's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, through Christ, the truth of the matter had at the same time come to light, that the veritable spirit or ghost is man. The corporeal or embodied spirit is just man. He himself is the ghostly being. And at the same time, the being's appearance and existence. Henceforth, man no longer, in typical cases, shudders at ghosts outside him, but at himself, he is terrified at himself. In the depth of his breast dwells the spirit of sin, even the faintest thought, and this is itself a spirit, you know, may be a devil, etc. The ghost has put on a body, God has become man, but now man is himself the gruesome spook which he seeks to get back of, to exercise, to fathom, to bring to reality and to speech. Man is spirit. What matter if the body wither, if only the spirit is saved? Everything rests on the spirit, and the spirit or soul's welfare becomes the exclusive goal. Man has become to himself a ghost, an uncanny spook, to which there is even assigned a distinct seat in the body. Dispute over the seat of the soul, whether in the head, etc. Was this written back when people thought the pineal gland was the connection between the brain and the spirit realm? Okay, whatever. This is why all the greatest political philosophies are fucking centuries old. You are not to me, and I am not to you, a higher essence. Nevertheless, a higher essence may be hidden in each of us, and call forth mutual reverence to take at once the most general man lives in you and me. If I did not see man in you, what occasion should I have to respect you? To be sure, you are not man in his true and adequate form, but only a mortal veil of his from which he can withdraw without himself ceasing. But yet for the present, this general and higher essence is housed in you, and you present before me, because an imperishable spirit has in you assumed a perishable body, so that really your form is only an assumed one. A spirit that appears in you without being bound to your body and to this particular mode of appearance. Therefore, a spook. Hence, I do not regard you as a higher essence, but only respect you in that higher essence which walks in you. I respect man in you. The ancients did not observe anything of this sort to their slaves, and the higher essence man found as yet little response. To make up for this, they saw in each other ghosts of another sort. The people is a higher essence than an individual, and like man or the spirit of essence, and like man or the spirit of man, a spirit haunting the individual, the spirit of the people. For this reason, they revered the spirit, and only so far as he served this, or else a spirit related to it. As in the spirit of the family could the individual appear significant. Only for the sake of the higher essence, the people was consideration allowed to the member of the people. As you are hallowed to us by man who haunts you, so at every time men have been hallowed by some higher essence or other, like people and family and such. Only for the sake of a higher essence has anyone been honored from the old. Only as a ghost has he been regarded in the light of a hallowed, a protected and recognized person. If I cherish you because I hold you dear, because in you my heart finds nourishment, my need satisfaction, then it is not done for the sake of a higher essence whose hallowed body you are, not on account of my beholding in you in a ghost, an appearing spirit, but from egoistic pleasure. You yourself with your essence are valuable to me, for your essence is not a higher one. It is not higher and more general than you, is unique, like you yourself, because it is you. Now I'm going to be real with you. Now I'm going to be fully honest. I sometimes don't know what exactly our friend Max Stirner is getting at here. And it might just be because there's 150 years between me and him. And it might just be because I'm reading a little too quick here. I mean, obviously I get the vibe. I get what he's going for. Okay, whatever, it's fine. So, you know, I'm gonna go back to the table of contents. You need to read Plato and other philosophers to understand this. I gotta go further into academia to understand this academia. That's the trap of academia. You know, you try to be like, okay, I'll understand this one concept, and then it's like, nope, you got to understand all these other concepts as well. It's a trap. Pick another section. By the way, fun fact, this guy, Max Stirner himself, he was a spook. This is true. By the way, when I say spook, I know exactly what I mean when I say it, because I own a copy of Max Stirner's The Ego in His Own, The Case of the Individual Against Authority. So I'm an expert on this subject. Let me see here. Page 69. Well, it worked well last time. I'll try it again. I've been lied to. There's nothing on page 69. Page 72. Page 177. I wonder if there's something on the page that I'm supposed to be finding, or like a subtitle. There is, alas, no mention of the rights that were born with us. You know what? Enough democracy. I'm going to close my eyes, flip to a random page, and just start reading. This is how all things should be. And this is the proper form of government. And anyone who tells you otherwise, they're just wrong. All right. Okay, he's analyzing a book. That was a bad place to stop. Through the revolution, the bourgeoisie became omnipresent, and all inequality was abolished by everyone's being, raised or degraded to the dignity of the citizen. The common man raised, the aristocrat degraded, the third estate became the sole estate, namely the estate of citizens of the state. Now communism responds, our dignity and our essence consists not in our being, all the equal children of our mother, the state, all born with an equal claim to her love and her protection, but in all are existing for each other. This is our equality, our herein we are equal, and that we, I as well as you and all of you are active, our labor, each one for the rest, and that each of us is a laborer then. The point for us is not what we are for this state, not our citizenship therefore, but that we are for each other, that each of us exists only through the other, who caring for my wants at the same time sees his own satisfied by me. He labors for my clothing, tailor, I for his need of amusement, comedy writer, rope dancer, he for my food, farmer, I for his instruction, scientist. It is labor that constitutes our dignity and our equality. What advantage does citizenship bring us? Burdens. And how high is our labor appraised? As low as possible. Sounding kind of commie there, Stan. But labor is the sole value all the same time. That we are laborers is the best thing about us. This is our significance in the world, and therefore it must be our consideration too, and must come to receive consideration. What can you meet with us? Surely you are recompense not for your bare existence, not for what you are for yourselves either, but only for what you are for us. By what have you claims on us? Perhaps by your high birth? No, only by what you do for us that is desirable or useful. Be it thus then, we are willing to be worth to you only so much as we do for you, but you are to be held likewise by us. Services determine value. those services are worth something to us, and consequently labors for each other, labors for the common good. Let each one of us be in each other's eyes a laborer. He who accomplishes something useful is inferior to none or all laborers. Laborers, of course, in the sense of laborers for the common good. That is, communistic laborers are equal. But as the laborer is worth his wages, let the wages too be equal. This, Okay, it seems that the chat is about 90% feet. 90% feet. And then people are surprised. People are surprised when the culling starts. It's like, where did this come from? It was obvious if you were paying attention. Formerly, one had to suit the lords to come to anything. After the revolution, the word was gasp, grasp, fortune. Luck hunting or hazard playing, civil life was absorbed in this. Then alongside this, the demand that he who has obtained something shall not frivolously stake it again. Feet. All right. Are there any like anti-degenerates that I can mod? Fellas, this is how fascism starts. All right, you know what? I'm gonna add a moderator, just basically randomly. I'm gonna add another one. Listen, I don't know what kind of person you are, but no matter where you fall politically, we can all agree that horniness needs to be outlawed immediately. It's, if you're a communist, it's standing in the way of class consciousness, and if you're an individualist, as you know, it's bad for you if you're surrounded by horny people. So it's got to go, unless you're extremely horny, in which case I think we can make an exception. Like you have to be horny enough to justify being that horny. Like you have to. What I'm saying is, you can't just be like the regular amount of horny. I've gotten off track. All right, I'm gonna close my eyes again. All right. Is free competition then really free? Nay, it is really a competition to wit. One of persons as it gives itself are to be, because on this title it bases its right. It originated, you know, in persons becoming free of all personal rule. Is a competition free, which the state, this ruler and the civic principle, hems in by 1,000 barriers? There is a rich manufacturer doing a brilliant business, and I should like to compete with him. Go ahead, says the state. I have no objection to make to your person as competitor. Yes, I reply, but for that I need a space for buildings. I need money. That's bad, but if you have no money, you cannot compete. You must not take anything from anybody, for I protect property and grant it privileges. Free competition is not free because I lack the things for competition. Against my person, no objection can be made, but because I have not the things, my person too must step to the rear. And who has the necessary things? Perhaps that manufacturer. Why? From him I could take them away. No, the state has them as proprietary. The manufacturer only as a fief, as possession. But since it is no use trying with the manufacturer, I compete with that professor of jurisprudence. The man is a booby, and I, who know 100 times more than he, shall make his classroom empty. Have you studied and graduated, friend? No. But what of that? I understand abundantly what is necessary for instruction in that department. Sorry, but competition is not free here. Against your person, there is nothing to be said. But the thing, the doctor's diploma, is lacking. And this diploma, I, the state, demand. Ask me for it respectfully first. Then we will see what is to be done. Now, one thing I will say about this book. Yeah, it literally says the man is a booby. Again, there's like a century. You know what? I'm getting distracted. No mods, no masters. I'm going to mod that guy. Yes, good job, Greg. You've done well. You've done well. Okay. I was going to say something and I forgot. That's the thing with the live chat. You look in that, it's like an abyss. You just get sucked into a black hole. Oh, one thing I will say about Max Stirner. I've done 3 of these live streams as a test. The first 2, Posadis or Posadis, it's pronounced Posadis, I'm 99% sure. He wrote very, what I'll say scatteredly. He wrote scatteredly. And Nick Land, he wrote scatteredly. You know, lots of fancy language, you know. So this is actually, it's more or less, you know, I can follow the ideas. I flip to a random part, I start reading, I get what's going on. So great. The thing is, with individualist anarchism, like, what is the praxis there? You just steal some underwear and get arrested? Solely from the principle that all right and all authority belong to the collectivity of the people, do all forms of government arise. For none of them lacks this appeal to the collectivity, and the despot, as well as the president or any aristocracy, acts and commands in the name of the state. They are in possession of the authority of the state, and it is perfectly indifferent whether, were this possible, the people, as a collectivity, all individuals, exercise the state authority, or whether it is only the representatives of this collectivity, be there many of them, as in aristocracies, or one as in monarchies. Always the collectivity is above the individual and has a power which is called legitimate, the law. I'm looking at the chat. It's like horrific. It's just like, it's blatantly terrible. And I love it. Keep it up. Keep it up. All right. Back to the drawing board. First of all, let's just appreciate the fact that Max Stirner is not real and Engels made him up to troll Marx. Look at this face. Look at this man. All right, whatever. Let's go back to the drawing board here. Okay, this time I'm going to pick something. Whatever interests me, I guess. The owner, my intercourse? 195. Why does that sound like it's going to devolve into something I can't actually stream? The spirit, the possessed, the hierarchy, humane liberalism. I was hoping to find something about the Union of Anarchists or the Union of Egoists. All right, I'm just gonna go to my intercourse because, you know, sometimes you just gotta play Russian roulette with your channel. In society, the human demand at most can be satisfied, while the egoist must always come short. Animating your sketches. There's a couple people who have made animatics of some centricide stuff. They're pretty good. Because it can hardly escape anybody that the present shows no such living interest in any question as in the social, one has to direct his gaze especially to society. Nay, if the interest felt in it were less passionate and dazzled, people would not so much, in looking at society, lose sight of the individuals in it, and would recognize that a society cannot become new so long as those who form and constitute it remain the old ones. If, for example, there was to arise in the Jewish people a society which should spread a new faith over the earth, these apostles could in no case remain Pharisees. As you are, so you present yourself, so you behave toward men. A hypocrite is a hypocrite, a Christian is a Christian. Therefore, the character of a society is determined by the character of its members. They are its creators. So much at least one must perceive, even if one were not willing to put to test the concept society itself. Even far from letting themselves come to their full development and consequence, men have hitherto not been able to found their society on themselves, or rather they have been only to found societies and to live in societies. The societies were always persons, powerful persons, so-called moral persons, ghosts, before which the individual had the appropriate wheel in his head, the fear of ghosts. As such ghosts, they may most suitably be designed by the respective names people and peoplet. The people of the patriarchs, the people of Helens, etc., at last the people of men, mankind. Then every subdivision of this people, which could and must have its special societies, the Spanish, French people, etc. Within it, again, classes, cities, in short, all kinds of corporations. Lastly, tapering to the finest point, the little peoplet of the family. Hence, instead of saying that the person that walked as a ghost in all societies hitherto has been the people, there might also have been named two extremes, to wit, either mankind or the family, both the most natural-born units. We choose the word people because its derivation has been brought into connection with the Greek poloi, the many or the masses, but still more because national efforts are at present the order of the day, and because even the newest mutineers have not yet shaken off this deceptive person, although on the other hand, the latter consideration must give the preference to the expression mankind, since on all sides they're going for enthusiasm over mankind. Mods are spooks. Thanks, Junior Egg. Accelerate the degeneracy. You know, I think you're onto something there. This chat is either going to have to become essentially asexual or accelerate in horniness to the point of a post-human singularity in which the components of the chat transcend their mortal form and become something entirely inhuman. No. Not everything has to be Nick Land. This must be insisted on all around against the present-day efforts for liberty. Liberty of the people is not my liberty. That's a good quote. Liberty of the people is not my liberty. Let us admit these categories: liberty of the people and right of the people. For example, the rights of the people that everybody may bear arms. Does one not forfeit such a right? One cannot forfeit his own right, but may well forfeit a right that belongs not to me, but to the people. I may be locked up for the sake of the liberty of the people. I may, under sentence, incur the loss of the rights to bear arms. Liberalism appears as the last attempt at a creation of the liberty of the people, a liberty of the commune, of society, of general, of mankind, the dream of humanity, a people, a commune, a society that shall be of age. A people cannot be free otherwise than at the individual's expense, for it is not the individual that is the main point in this liberty, but the people. The freer the people, the more bound the individual. The Athenian people, precisely at its freest time, created ostracism, banished the atheists, poisoned the most honest thinker. How do they praise Socrates for his conscientiousness, which makes him resist the advice to get away from the dungeon? He is a fool that he concedes to the Athenians a right to condemn him. Therefore, it certainly serves him right. Why, then, does he remain standing on an equal footing with the Athenians? Fellas, did somebody say footing? Why does he not break with them? Had he been known and been able to know what he was, he would have conceded to such judges no claim, no right. That he did not escape was just his weakness, his delusion of still having something in common with the Athenians, or the opinion that he was a mere member of this people. But he was rather this people itself in person and could only be his own judge. There was no judge over him, as he himself had really pronounced. This guy is talking about Socrates. Max Stirner is talking about Socrates. I've realized this, and I feel a little betrayed. I feel a little lied to, because I don't want to hear about Socrates, even if Max Stirner is talking to me about Socrates, okay? It's not important to me what Socrates said, all right? I don't care. I don't care about Socrates. I don't care about the shadows on the cave wall or whatever Socrates did. I don't know. Is that Plato? That was Plato. I don't care about Plato either, although Plato's a decent, I lost my train of thought. You ever just realize that it's just all for nothing? Well, if you do realize that, then you should absolutely. I'm not going anywhere with that. All right. Let's see here. It was with pettifoggery and intrigues. No, he's still talking about Greeks. He's still talking about Greeks. All right. I'm going to read the chat. I'm going to read the chat, and we're going to figure out what to do next, okay? Just give suggestions as to what page I should turn to. And we'll turn to that page, and you'll feel a real connection with me. We'll all feel a real great connection. You'll feel deeply connected, almost as if you're talking to me directly, like we're having a conversation. Like you really have a friend that's talking to you, something important to do on this beautiful Saturday, or maybe even Sunday very early morning. And we'll all be fine. Page 420. Let me just turn to page 420. It appears there's only 340 pages. Page 15. Oh, page 15. All right. It must not be supposed now that the ancients were without thoughts, just as the most spiritual man is not to be conceived of as if he could be without life. Rather, they had their thoughts about everything, about the world, man, the gods, etc., and showed themselves keenly active in bringing all this to their consciousness. But they did not know thought, even though they thought of all sorts, of all things, and worried themselves with their thoughts. Compare with their position, the Christian saying, "My thoughts are not your thoughts. As the heaven is higher than the earth, so are my thoughts higher than your thoughts." And remember what was said above our child thoughts. Yo, that's a hilarious number. 69? Yo, I don't know if you guys know this, but 69. I don't want to get into it here. It might be a little too racy. And 420, that number is hilarious, dude. Holy shit. Yo, cool it. Chat, calm down. You're going to bring the house down with this kind of high-level intellect. All right. All right, we're going to go to sleep now. All right, good night. Good night. I'm specifically looking at my the view count, and I'm just like, what do I have to do to remove, get less than 1,000 people watching me essentially do nothing? Who then is self-sacrificing? In the full sense, surely he who ventures everything else for one thing, one object to reach his goal, or the ambitious man who offers up all his desires, wishes, and satisfactions to the single passion, or the avaricious man who denies himself everything to gather treasures, or the pleasure seeker, he is ruled by a passion to which he brings the rest as sacrifices. And are these self-sacrificing people perchance not selfish, not egoist, as they have only one ruling passion, so they provide for only one satisfaction, but for this the more strenuously? They are wholly absorbed in it. Their entire activity is egoistic, but it is one-sided, unopened, narrow egoism. It is possessedness. Why, those are petty passions, by which, on the contrary, man must not let himself be enthralled. Man must make sacrifices for a great idea, a great cause. A great idea, a good cause is, it may be, the honor of God, for which innumerable people have met death. Christianity, which has found its willing martyrs, the Holy Catholic Church, which has greedily demanded sacrifices of heretics, liberty and equality, which were waited on by bloody guillotines. He who lives for a great idea, a good cause, a doctrine, a system, a lofty calling, may not let any worldly lusts, any self-seeking interests spring up in him. Here we have the concept of clericalism, or as it may also be called in its pedagogic activity, schoolmasterliness, for the idealists play the schoolmaster over us. The clergyman is especially called to live to the idea and to work for the idea, the truly good cause. Therefore, the people feel how little it befits him to show worldly haughtiness, to desire good living, to join in such pleasures as dancing and gaming, in short, to have any other than a sacred interest. Hence, too, doubtless, is derived the scanty salary of teachers who are to feel themselves repaid by the sacredness of their calling alone, and to renounce other enjoyments. Even a directory of the sacred ideas, one or more of which man is to look upon as his calling, is not lacking. Family, fatherland, science, etc. may find me in a servant faithful to his calling. Here we come upon the old craze of the world, which has not yet learned to do without clericalism, that to live and work for an idea is man's calling, and according to the faithfulness of its fulfillment, his human worth is measured. That is the domination of the idea. In other words, it is clericalism. Clericalism. You know, I've heard a lot about clericalism. I've been looked into clerical fascism. I gotta say, I don't understand it, and I don't care to. Do you know why? Here's why. I'll explain why. I haven't seen any clerical memes. That's why. That's literally why. I don't make videos about actual ideologies. I make videos about the representation of these ideologies via memes. And as a result, there's some stuff that gets lost in translation. The other thing is, I was browsing our distributism the other day, and there was a post saying, like, we're outlawing memes, or I don't know. I think one of the moderators didn't want memes in our distributism or something. I was just like, that's a terrible idea. Because that's the only way ideologies propagate. It's through memes. I imagine a glorious future in which there are no books, and everyone just communicates their ideas through memes. And it's just like a reference to a reference to a reference to a book, and maybe people have read the book, maybe not. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the propagation through memes. Oh, how much for mod? I'm an ANCAP. There you go. Now, eventually I'll read more libertarian stuff, and then everyone who donates money, I'll just make a mod. But it's not exactly fitting right now for me to do that. I'm thinking of doing themes like back in the Discord days. In this one, I just do whatever I want because it's egoism. But if we're gonna do if we're gonna read some good libertarian literature, I think everything we've read so far has been anti-capitalist. Not anti-capitalist, but like they don't have a great view of capitalism. Obviously, Max Stirner, Anarchy, you know, not exactly pro-capitalism. Poseidism, obviously wanted to destroy capitalism with nukes. And Nick Land, it's not that he was anti-capitalism, it's just that his ideas about capitalism were that of a mentally ill person. In the sense that, at least metaphorically, capitalism is something propelling us towards a place where humans are not alive anymore, or not relevant anymore. I'll make you my egoistic property through mutual intercourse, if you know what I mean. I do, and I wish I didn't. Now, over against these representatives of ideal or sacred interests stands a world of innumerable personal profane interests. No idea, no system, no sacred cause is so great as never to be outrivaled and modified by these personal interests. Even if they are silent momentarily and in times of rage and fanaticism, yet they soon come uppermost again through the sound sense of the people. Those ideas do not completely conquer till they are no longer hostile to personal interests, till they satisfy egoism. The man who is just now crying herrings in front of my window has a personal interest in good sales, and if his wife or anybody else wishes him the like, this remains a personal interest all the same. If on the other hand, a thief deprived him of his basket, then there would be at once arise an interest of many, of the whole city, of the whole country, or in the world, of all those who abhor theft, an interest in which the herring seller's person would become indifferent, and its place, the category of the robbed man, would come into the foreground. But even here, all might yet resolve itself into a personal interest. Each of the partakers reflecting that he must concur in the punishment of the thief, because unpunished stealing might otherwise become general and cause him to lose his own. Such a calculation, however, can hardly be assumed on the part of many, and we shall rather hear the cry that the thief is a criminal. Here we have before us a judgment. Oh, now he's getting somewhere. Nazi beats up clerical fascism for being dishonest. I have to actually learn about the ideology before I introduce it as a character. That's not even true. I have to see some memes about it that I feel like I understand in order to represent it. The man who is just now crying herrings. Oh, blah, 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 blah. All right, here we are. I do not blame the middle class for not wanting to let its aims be frustrated by Robespierre. Nope. Robespierre? I know who that is. I don't want to hear about him. I don't want to hear about Robespierre. I reject history. All right. 4. Where is cat? I don't have a cat. Okay? I do. Okay, this one's called The Owner. The Owner, Chapter 4, The Owner. You know what? Here's what we're going to do, okay? You see this, man? I'm going to deface this book. And we're gonna These are not very powerful magnets. Oh shit. Oh fuck. There we go. Oh, fuck. I was so close. What? Ow. Perfect. I might just keep that there. Wait a second. Press 1 if you want to ban Jreg. Guy's not a mod anymore. That's not very serving of my interests. Vince, I remember Vince. Vince, I'm gonna make you a mod. Vince knows how to deal with things. All right. But what is right? What is matter of right in a society is voiced too in the law. Whatever the law may be, it must be respected by the loyal citizen. Thus, the law-abiding mind of old England is eulogized. To this, the Euripidean sentiment, Orestes 4:18, entirely corresponds. We serve the gods, whatever the gods are. Law as such, God as such. Thus far we are today. People are at pains to distinguish law from arbitrary orders. From an ordinance, the former comes from a duly entitled authority. But a law over human action, ethical law, state law, etc., is always a declaration of will and so an order. Thoughts on Pinochet? Pinochet was great. Pinochet was good in the sense that he had the authoritarianism. Pinochet is a good example of right-wing unity, because you have the cultural right wing and you have the economic right wing. So that's like the embodiment. I think Hoppianism is probably the ideal right-wing merger. Sort of like a more extreme version of fusionism. You know, put aside your differences and just own some libtards. The own will of me is the state's destroyer. It is therefore branded by the state as a self-will. Own will and the state are powers in deadly hostility, between which no eternal peace is possible. As long as the state asserts itself, it represents its own will, its ever hostile opponent as unreasonable evil. And the latter lets itself be talked into believing this. Nay, it really is such, for no more reason than this, that it still lets itself be talked into such belief. It has not yet come to itself and to the consciousness of dignity. Hence it is still incomplete, still amenable to fine words. Every state is a despotism, be the despot one or many, or as likely as if all be lords, despotize over one another. For this is the case when the law, given at any time, the expressed volition of it may be a popular assembly, is thenceforth to be law to the individual, to which obedience is due from him, or toward which he has the duty of obedience. If one were even to conceive the case that every individual in the people had expressed the same will, and hereby a complete collective will, had come into being, the matter would still remain the same. Would I not be bound today and henceforth to my will of yesterday? My will would be in this case frozen. Wretched stability, my creature, to wit, a particular expression of will, would have become my commander. But I and my will, I the creator, should be hindered in my flow and my dissolution. Because I was a fool yesterday, I must remain such my life long. So, in the state life I am at best, I might just as well say at worst, a bondman of myself. Because I was a willer yesterday, I am today without will. Yesterday voluntary, today involuntary. What I will say is I'm reading the book because I want you to know that if there is an extremist ideology that appeals to you, you should at least try to read the book, because it may give you a lot more ideas how to act out your extremist ideology. It's important to keep things practical and not just theoretical. So, you know, I mean, books, they're not for everybody, but if they're for you, that's the point. Maybe Nick Land, maybe you're an accelerationist, maybe you're an egoist, maybe you're a sadist. You never know. You never know. But you've got a extremist spirit within you just waiting to get out. And that's a beautiful thing. If you let yourself be made out in the right by another, you must no less let yourself be made out in the wrong by him. If justification and reward come to you from him, expect also his arraignment and punishment. Alongside right goes wrong. Alongside legality is crime. What are you? You are a criminal. The criminal is in the utmost degree the state's own crime. One may let this sentiment pass, even if Bettina herself does not understand it exactly so. For in the state, the unbridled I, as I belong to myself alone, cannot come to my fulfillment and realization. Every ego is from birth a criminal to begin with against the people, the state. Hence, it is that it does really keep watch over all. It sees in each one an egoist, and it is afraid of the egoist. It presumes the worst about each one and takes care, police care, that no harm happens to the state. Nequid res publica detrimentia capiat. The unbridled ego, and this we originally are, and in our secret inward parts we remain so always, is the never-ceasing criminal in the state. Man whom his boldness, his will, his inconsiderateness, and fearlessness led, is surrounded with spies by the state, by the people. I say by the people. The people think it is something wonderful, you good-hearted folks, what have you in the people. The people is full of police sentiments, through and through. Only he who renounces his ego, who practices self-renunciation, is acceptable to the people. In the book cited, Bettina is throughout good-natured enough to regard the state as only sick and to hope for a recovery, which she would not bring about through the demagogues. But it is not sick, rather is it in its full strength, when it puts from the demagogues who want to acquire something for the individuals, for all. In its believers, it is provided with the best demagogues, leaders of the people. According to Bettina, the state is to develop mankind's germ of freedom. Otherwise, it is a raven mother, and caring for raven fodder. It cannot do otherwise, for in its very caring for mankind, which besides would have to be the humane or free state to begin with, the individual is raven fodder for it. How rightly speaks the burgomaster on the other hand. What? The state has no other duty than to be merely the attendant of incurable invalids? That isn't to the point. From of old, the healthy state has relieved itself of the diseased matter and not mixed itself with it. It does not need to be so economical with its uses. Cut off the robber branches without hesitation that the others may bloom. Do not shiver at the state's harshness, its morality, its policy. And religion, point it to that. Accuse it of no want of feeling. Its sympathy revolts against this, but its experience finds safety only in severity. There are diseases in which only drastic remedies will help. The physician who recognizes the disease as such but timidly turns to palliatives will never remove the disease, but may well cause the patient to succumb after a shorter or longer sickness. Fro-Rat's question, if you apply death as a drastic remedy, how is the cure to be wrought then? Isn't it to the point why the state does not apply death against itself, but against an offensive member? It tears out an eye that offends it, etc. I'm going to skip to the last chapter and look around. I am the owner of my might, and I am so when I know myself as unique. In the unique one, the owner himself returns into his creative nothing, of which he is born. Every higher essence above me, be it God, be it man, weakens the feeling of my uniqueness and pales only before the sun of this consciousness. If I concern myself for myself, the unique one, then my concern rests on its transitory mortal creator, who consumes himself. And I may say, all things are nothing to me. I think we covered all the beats here. Let me see if this has like an index. No index, just a table of contents. The chat is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. All right, here's the plan. I'm gonna read one more section and call it a day. Maybe I can find the Union of Egoist section somewhere. The craving for a particular freedom always includes the purpose of a new dominion, as it was with the revolution, which indeed could give its defenders the uplifting feeling that they were fighting for freedom, but in truth, only because they were after a particular freedom. Therefore, a new dominion, the dominion of law. Freedom you all want. You want freedom. Why then do you higgle over a more or less? Freedom can only be the whole of freedom. A piece of freedom is not freedom. You despair of the possibility of obtaining the whole of freedom. Freedom from everything, yes. You consider it insanity even to wish this. Well then leave off chasing after the phantom, and spend your pains on something better than the unattainable. Ah, but there is nothing better than freedom. What have you then when you have freedom? For I will not speak here of your piecemeal bits of freedom, complete freedom. Then you are rid of everything that embarrasses you, everything, and there is probably nothing that does not once in your life embarrass you and cause you inconvenience. And for whose sake, then, did you want to be rid of it? Doubtless for your sake, because it is in your way. But if something were not inconvenient to you, if, on the contrary, it were quite to your mind, such as the gentle but irresistibly commanding look of your loved one, then you would not want to be rid of it and free from it. Why not? For your sake again. So you take yourselves as measure and judge over all. You gladly let freedom go and unfreedom. The sweet service of love suits you. And you take up your freedom again on occasion when it begins to suit you better. That is, supposing, which is not the point here, that you are not afraid of such a repeal of the union for others, for perhaps religious reasons. Sometimes I just feel like I black out and say a bunch of words. All right, one more. Trying to find a good one here. 112? Okay. In the most natural way, in the world, this endeavor first utters itself as hatred of the unfortunate against the fortunate, of those for whom fortune has done little or nothing, against those for whom it has done everything. But properly, the ill feeling is not directed against the fortunate, but against fortune. This rotten spot of the commonality. As the communists first declare free activity to be man's essence, they, like all workday dispositions, need a Sunday. Like all material endeavors, they need a God, an uplifting, an edification alongside their witless labor. That the communist sees in you the man, the brother, is only the Sunday side of communism. According to the workday side, he does not by any means take you as man simply, but as human labor or laboring man. The first view has in it the liberal principle. In the second, illiterability is concealed. If you were a lazy bones, he would not indeed fail to recognize the man in you, but would endeavor to cleanse himself as a lazy man from laziness, and to convert you to the faith that labor is man's destiny and calling. Therefore, he shows a double face. With the one, he takes heed that the spiritual man be satisfied, and with the other, he looks about him for means for the material or corporeal man. He gives man a twofold post, an office of material acquisition and one of spirituality. The commonality had thrown open spiritual and material goods, and left it with each one to reach out for them, if he liked. Communism really procures them for each one, presses them upon him, and compels him to acquire them. It takes seriously the idea that because only spiritual and material goods make us men, we must unquestionably acquire these goods in order to be man. The commonality made acquisition free. Communism compels to acquisition, and recognizes only the acquirer, him to practice a trade. It is not enough that the trade is free, but you must take it up. So, all that is left for criticism to do is to prove that the acquisition of these goods does not yet by any means make us men. With the liberal commandment that everyone is to make a man of himself, or everyone to make himself man, there was posited the necessity that everyone must gain time for the labor of humanization. That is, that it should be possible for everyone himself to labor on himself. All right, fellas. Okay, fellas. Fellas. I think we're done here. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. The cat wasn't my cat, by the way. It was just a friend's cat that happened to be obese or, a little fat. So, yeah. Vor. Yeah. Fleet before I go. I wonder how much money I can make off an OnlyFans. That's a good enough note to end on. Ciao.